the FNL Network Talk Show.
Hello, and welcome to the FNL Network Talk Show. I'm your host, David Stowe, along with my co-host, Diana, Bettina, and Candace. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So we're excited. This is Candace's first real big show with us. So, I'm honored to be here for that. So that's awesome. Welcome, Candace. I don't think we asked where you were from. Where are you from, Candace?
Yeah, I'm in the Philadelphia area, like right outside. So it's quiet and it's lovely and it's cool. So and then I have the nice, Philly about 20 minutes away. So I have the best of both worlds, like the quiet of the burbs and then the chaos of the city. So can't
Nice.
complain.
It's always good when you can live outside the city, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know if I enjoyed living anywhere near the cities. I'm a country boy, always been through and through, but at the same time, it's always good to be able to go into a city when you can, you know. I know Bettina and Diana, you guys are living in the cities, all right? Or you're in the
Yeah.
subs too? Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. I don't know how you do it unless it's right up your alley. That's really hard for me to be able to do, but it is what it is, but that's awesome. So we're all over the place. We got New York, we got California, New Jersey, right? And then Philadelphia. So that's amazing. That's awesome. Well, that actually will bring us into my first question of the night. And since this is a fashion show, I think this works out perfectly for a good question to go into that. One of the biggest things that we have found over the years is that history likes to repeat itself, including in fashion. And one of the things that I recognize, I think I've been around long enough now to be able to see that how things work, was in the 50s. If I could go back to the 50s, I would have been a greaser. It'd have been awesome. T-shirts and jeans and poodle skirts and a lot of cool things, new rock and roll coming out and dancing. And it was a lot of fun. And then it moved into the 70s, and 70s had bell bottoms, or 60s and 70s. I'm sorry, I can't skip that decade. The 60s and 70s with bell bottoms and well, real flamboyant, bright colored clothing. And then in the 80s, it seemed to kind of recycle back to the 50s style with a flair. It seemed like everybody was wearing t-shirts and jeans again, but now there was a lot more colors. Bright colors were coming out again, and it was really interesting. And then as we moved into the late 80s and 90s and early 2000s, it was like bell bottoms came back. So it's really interesting how fashion seems to repeat itself, just like history. And so my question to you guys is, if we can go back and really look at all the fashions that are out there, fashion statements, whether it's one or two, what is a fashion that you guys think should just never have existed whatsoever? It shouldn't even be on the map. So let's start with Diana.
Well, it's funny you mentioned this because on Friday I was at the mall in Topanga and I don't remember what store I was in, but it literally was like a bunch of 90s fashion on the racks. And it was the ugly stuff, like the big cargo pants and like the loud colored tank tops with the lace, like not only up the front, but in the middle, and then it flares out. And it just looked like an episode of Lizzie McGuire, which I love that show, but we can all look back and say the fashion was horrible. It threw up all over whatever store I was in, and I was just so surprised. I am nostalgic for the 90s. Don't get me wrong. I do love certain fashions from it, but I mean, we should only be wearing one shirt with one layers. Like, we don't need to layer tank tops over long sleeves or short sleeves. Like, it's just not practical. It's not cute, in my opinion. You're wasting money. I don't know. And I think, like you mentioned, it's just gonna cycle back out of style. So how long is this really gonna stick around for?
That is true. That is true. My daughter used to dress like Punky Brewster when she was a kid, and she had no clue who Punky Brewster was, and we just made fun of it all the time. Like, man, you come up with some of the weird. She'd just grab any clothing she could find in her bedroom, whether it matched or rhymed, whatever it was, and she'd just come out and she was happy to run out like that. So we actually had an '80s party during New Year's, and she dressed as Punky Brewster, so that was a lot of fun.
Oh, it's
You
so
know,
cute.
it was cool. It was fun. What about you, Candace? Any
Oh
styles
my
that you could
goodness.
think of that should have never existed?
Well, Diana just mentioned the 90s, and immediately I was thinking about those, if they were called the big JNCO pants. I think those huge, like, I was just like thinking about that recently, and that can stay away, because I don't know. I just don't know how, people were walking in them, wearing them, etc. But also, I mean, for nostalgia's sake, there are some things that I would like to see come back just to see how people would respond. So for instance, like Von Dutch hats, I'm like 50-50 on them. Like I like them, but then again, they were a little garish, but I want to see someone try to bring them back just to like see what the response would be. Also like jelly sandals. Like I don't hate them, but I kind of want to see like what people will say if they're brought back, because they were very in fashion at the time, but now like how is that going to work? I really just want to see the response of like Gen Z, Gen Alpha. Like what do you guys think about this? Because there are some things that I'm like, what were we thinking? Like what were we actually thinking? And then just also what Diana said, piggybacking off of like the layering, because I was watching an episode of iCarly recently, and they were big on layering, and I was like, why are we wearing long sleeve with short sleeve? And I used to wear that, and I'm like, why do that? Like, why was this okay?
I still do that. Maybe I'm just the one that's out of fashion all the time.
Well, I guess also depends on where you are. Like if you're really cold, like if you're on the East Coast, layering is still such a huge thing. But it's funny just looking back and seeing how certain things were, like especially in the 90s and the early 00s, and how some of that stuff is being brought back, and we're just like millennials were like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing? But
I think the internet and social media makes it go a lot quicker now. I used to joke around back, when we were younger, that it seemed like, you know, the movie stars and the colleges would come out with a style. 2 years later, the high school kids would catch up on it, and then 2 years after that, the junior high, and then it kind of rolled down the hill. I didn't realize that every part of the country was different too. And I graduated, I'm dating myself here, but I graduated in 92. And I remember going back to Wisconsin, and I was going out with some people. And for some reason, and this was 3 years after Vanilla Ice came out, Vanilla Ice and Guns N' Roses was like huge. Everybody was still running around in Trans Ams like they're in the 80s. I was like, I felt like I went back in a time. I'm like, what's going on here? And I think what happened was styles just were real slow to take hold. Now you got styles that come in like overnight, and I didn't make the styles. I mean, unless you guys came up with some styles, I can't really blame us, but we did join in, and fit in with something new. So what about you, Bettina?
Well, I'll tell you what I believe is the far worstest fashion thing. Remember those low cut jeans and people would wear like a thong and then like bend over and their whole ass would be out? Come on.
Oh,
That is by far like the worst
oh,
thing. I mean, I used to wear them and like I just like was never comfortable. I was constantly trying to have to pull them up. And I remember during a time I was like working on a as a cue card girl for a television series, and all the interns and the PAs, they all were wearing them. So and they always have to like bend over to pick stuff up, and like guys would like just gather around to like stare at everyone's ass. That is by far the worst. Like, I never want to see it again.
I'm
well,
with you. High rise is like good, because then if you take a picture and you ate a little too much, it hides the stomach, like puffs everything up. I'm with you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, it was
mean,
different than
Melted
the
lower.
mama jeans. I remember the mama jeans. I don't know if you guys know about those. Well, I'm sure you know what I'm
mom
talking
jeans,
about, but
yeah.
mom jeans that seemed like it was coming back for a little bit there, and I was like, wow, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I know my dad absolutely hated parachute pants. You guys might be too young for the parachute pants, but we were all breakers back in the 80s, watching Break Street and Turbo and all that. So it was cool to wear. I would say for me personally, it's actually two styles in one. The first one came around with skinny jeans on guys. Never made sense to me. I was just like, what the, and I know my dad argued, well, it's just like cowboys running around. No, there's a big difference. Those were fitted skinny jeans, and there was a reason they wore those jeans for riding horses. These skinny jeans were just way too dang small. I mean, it almost looked like they went and stole their sister's Barbie doll pants off the Ken doll and tried to slide them on. but then it got worse down the road when they mixed skinny jeans with sagging. And I cannot stand sagging. I didn't like it when I was young. I still don't like it. I remember getting in trouble. I was coaching a football team and I was young. I was like, why is everybody walking around sagging? Well, they wanted to tell me it's because the shorts that they bought were too short and they didn't like short shorts at that time, which by the way is coming back into style apparently. But I remembered I had my entire football team sitting out on the field and I had them take their drawstrings because I was tired of looking at everybody's ass all day long. Took the drawstrings, put it over their neck, and they're doing JJ or jumping jacks until I got in trouble for that. So I learned real quick. I got to either figure out how to come along with the styles or just let it go. But sagging and skinny jeans were probably ultimately the one that I hated the most. And I didn't like bell bottoms growing up, but they seem to come back pretty stylish. Heck, I even had I guess they're loose fit at the bottoms of your jeans over your boots, boot fit. What do they call them, boot fits or? So there's obviously a lot of different styles out there that a lot of people have gone through. We didn't even talk about hairdos. Maybe that's a whole other show in itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that being said, there's a lot of things that are going around right now. I mean, we've got voting coming up soon. There's a lot of things that are going around in the world. It's so crazy out there, whether you're on the right or the left. It just seems like it's hard to trust anybody. One of the things that happened last week that I thought was very interesting, and I don't usually get involved with all that stuff, and I thought it would be perfect for us to talk about was Tucker Carlson, a well-known right-wing journalist. He recently interviewed the Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I guess it's the first time that I didn't know this, but I guess any journalist from the West was able to talk to him and actually interview him for his side of the story. Because we hear everything on the news, we hear it from our friends and people around us, but I guess the guy's a master manipulator, so might as well hear it from his mouth himself. He was part of the KGB, so I found it very interesting that while that story came to light. I started finding out that there was a hit list that he was put on back in June, along with other people around the world. And with this hit list, it was really interesting to me. Why, when I found out that apparently Washington is backing that hit list. So whether it's true completely or not, because we've all talked about this before, we never know where we're getting our news from, or who's telling the truth or what's going on. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on it. I don't know if you guys watched the interview. It was about 2 hours long. I'm not gonna lie, I fell asleep halfway through and woke back up and and tried to catch up what was going on. But it was very interesting, especially the first part where he gave us a 30-minute history lesson on parts of the world that I've never even heard of, let alone understood. So I thought it was very interesting. What did you guys think? We'll start with you, Candace.
Wow. I, also myself, having worked and working in journalism, it's all about at the core of the job getting to the truth. So I feel like we're definitely at this precipice now where you do have groups of people who, if it's someone that they don't like, they just don't want to hear their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their opinion. But I feel regardless if it's Tucker Carlson or whichever other public figure, public journalist out there wants to get someone's opinion, as divisive and controversial as Putin is, I personally would want to hear what he has to say. And I haven't seen the interview yet, but given the nature of everything that's happening in the world, especially between Russia and Ukraine, why wouldn't you want to know? Because it's if I had the opportunity to interview Putin, I might actually take it and I would just get straight to the points, just get asked the tough, hard-hitting questions, because there's a lot of things that people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand what's happening in Europe. They don't understand European politics to begin with. They don't understand world affairs. And this is a way to get to the truth and to get to exactly what's happening, why this is important, and why it affects the United States, because it does. So, I haven't even gotten into the hit list. I didn't even know that this hit list existed, didn't know Tucker Carlson was on it. But regardless, I would want to hear what Putin has to say, because it's serious and it's affecting everyone. And as a citizen of this world, I want to know why you're doing what you're doing. What is the purpose, and how is this helping us as citizens of the world? Like, how is this helping us? So that's how I see that.
Yeah. You know, and I know going into it, I was curious too. What the heck are they going to ask? What's he going to ask him? What are they talking about? Is it going to be a one-sided conversation? And you know, I think he could. You know, if you looked at his face the whole time when he was asking, he's like, I mean, dead intent on trying to find out why are you doing what you're doing. You know, and he didn't. I don't think he was. It was a little. Maybe it's just me. I didn't think it was really political. He did ask in the very end if he could just take the journalist prisoner. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. If anybody remembers, that's a Russian prisoner over there. He asked if he can bring him with him, you know, and bring him back to America, you know. So it was very interesting, you know. So I thought it was. What about you, Bettina? Did you get a chance to watch the interview? Did you hear anything about it?
Started watching a little bit. I mean, I don't know if I really believe that there's a no ki a ki what did you call it? A kill list?
Yeah, the kill
I mean,
list was they called it my Russian's not great, but the Mart vets kill list.
I just
That's what it's
find that
called.
hard to believe, and I know that you had said something about that the United States, like, agreed with it or something, and I would never be for the assassination of anyone.
Yeah, I
Sounds
you know
like
what? I don't really understand how that list works other than it's people that are supposedly deemed dangerous to uh uh to Ukraine, you know, and anything that's going on with the Russian war between them and Putin. So I that's what I saw on the list. You know, I kind of threw that in there because at the end I saw another article that was talking about that, and when I threw that list up there, you know, it was interesting. I first heard that it was after he did the interview, but then I found out it was way back in June. Just like anybody else, you got to kind of look at your resources. It didn't matter where you're getting your resources. You know, you got to be able to look at multiple
what
resources.
did he
And
do in June that made them put him on that list?
I think it might have been the fact that he was outspoken over in Europe. He's been outspoken about a lot of things. You know, I think they were talking about when he got banned from Twitter, that and he actually has more followers now that people are listening to. I honestly don't I haven't listened to enough of Tucker Carlson. There's some things that I just recently been looking to because I like interviews with people that nobody else interviews. So it's interesting to see what that their point is going to be. I do know that Putin made me believe for a few seconds at least that I was like, man, I kind of get what he's getting at. So it was really interesting. But like my brother and my sister both said at the same time, like you got to remember this guy was a KGB. He's trained at making us all believe that you know they're not sitting there in front of us in the room. So you
Yeah.
know, I mean, he's a trained liar.
Mhm.
You know, but I could see how the people that are cut off from the rest of the world and the only information you're getting, I could see in a sense how you can completely fall into that trap or believe everything you're told. What about you, Diana?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing this topic up because I kind of got sucked into a black hole about it. And kind of like you alluded to earlier, it is a good opportunity to discuss media literacy and checking all of your sources because it has been disproven that this is not a hit list. What it is, it's pretty much like you mentioned before, it's a website where people, and it's independent of the Ukrainian government, they
Mhm.
could post anyone that's considered a threat to Ukrainian security. And I forgot what website this was from because I was just like, so I went on the whole black hole. But
I was hoping
apparently,
you would.
yeah. Oh my God, I was so
my
intrigued.
my brain was getting fried with this show I was doing, so I was like, man, I can't look this all
No,
up.
this is
Maybe I just
so
opened a whole
good.
can of worms here.
Yeah. So apparently Carlson was listed under what's translated as the purgatory section. And I forgot which website this was from because I just screenshotted it without the URL. That was stupid of me. But that section allows readers to add people under the criteria of being an enemy of Ukraine. So I don't know
Wow.
how true this is. It's coming from the other side, but in my mind, as I can equate it to how we can go on Wikipedia and my coworker and I, you could edit any post. Like we wanted to make the word of the year ball bag, and you could just edit it and do that. We didn't end up doing it because they track your IP address, but that's what I'm gathering. And I'm just trying to see what else I got on here. It says it's categorically not a kill list. There were some instances, I think in 2016, where people who were on the list also were assassinated.
Oh wow.
The link
Wow.
the link is not like proven. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
also like how any jerk can go on any public forum and post a celebrity's address or something, and now they have a stalker. So I don't know how much. Do I think it's suspicious that people who were posted on the site were also killed? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that's a little fishy. But I'm just not so sure of how true it is that they're linked, like A sends to B, rather than
Mhm.
you have A and then you have idiots who do B because they saw A. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and you conspiracy theorists are always going to take names. They're going to throw it out there, and I heck, for all we know, it could have been Washington D.C.'s name came up on the list that they knew of the list, and somebody automatically said, "Oh, they approve of it."
Yeah.
So, but not to ruin everybody's thought process on this, but I believe wholeheartedly, and we've talked about conspiracy theories before on here. I Sometimes the truth is probably right in front of our eyes, and we don't even recognize it, but who do we believe? Candace, you said you were in journalism. I mean, who do we believe anymore? I mean, everybody has an agenda nowadays, and people probably, maybe I'm correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm sure that they have a editor or a boss that wants them to write something, and if you don't write what they want, then you're fired and you're out of a job. I mean, how does it go? What how does the media work anymore? Who can we trust? And, we see these websites all the time. Oh, this is where you can get the absolute truth from everything, but heck, nobody knows. You got to be smart enough to be able to pick it out. And I'm glad Diana looked that up, because that's definitely something I was like, man, that's a whole new,
I'm
can
so
of
into the
worms.
topic. I'm into the topic you said, but I'm also so into media literacy because you bring up a good point. Like, how do we know what to believe? But the other thing is, obviously, no news source is going to be 100% biased. We as humans are not unbiased. That's what makes the world go round. We have opinions on things.
Mhm.
However, it's just that some websites are more factual than others. I'm not as experienced as far as big media names like Candace has worked for. I've worked for more independent places. But to
Mhm.
answer your question earlier, like, we were pretty much allowed to write whatever, but we had facts we were presented, whether that was a press release or you call a witness or something.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's not to say there aren't idiots who like completely go off that and do their own thing, but like I know, and I'm sure Candace did, like, I like integrity. I stick to the facts that are in front of my face, and hopefully journalists out there, if they're ethical and they're doing the right thing, then they're also doing that.
I
Yes,
agree.
yes, sign, co-sign. And that's, we're mixing media literacy, which I'm glad you brought that up, Diana, because it's very important, especially because with social media, you have someone put something out on Twitter/X, and it's like many people don't, they just retweet it without even looking at
Mhm.
if what was tweeted was true. And then you get all this miscommunication. You get people saying that's not my account, I didn't do this and that. It's a mess out here, and I think that people really need to look for the facts for themselves. And if you're a journalist and you're a true journalist, what you're going to do is just like Diana said, you're going to get your sources, make sure that they're correct, talk to people, write it down, correct it again if need be, fact check, whatever you need to do, because once it's out there, it's out there. And yes, it can be redacted, but that's like the last resort. You don't want anything redacted if you can help it. So check
Yeah.
your sources, check them. It's so important now.
Well, even with I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'll have multiple different news things on my phone just to see, sometimes hey, I wonder what's going on in the world. I'd rather not get it through Facebook or, Twitter or whatnot. And so quickly a rumor can go out. But what's most misleading are these damn titles. You see a title and it stops, and you're like, okay, what are they getting at? What does this mean? Nah, I don't want to look. And then you're like, I got to see it. And then you open it up and you just went down a rabbit hole. Not only did you go down a rabbit hole, you could read through it and realize, oh, okay, so these people are, for this so and so, or they're for this or for that, or they're trying to get me to think this, or this was the waste of time title that just sucked me in. And it gets you. I mean, I'm a sucker for titles. I hear a title, I'm like, oh, Bigfoot was found? Oh crap. Wait a minute. Why am I the dumbass that's going to go on there and look at Bigfoot being found? Because it would have hit the news all over the place if it was real, right? Or
Mhm.
we're being subjected to, you know, what we can and can't see. And it's just, it's a scary world out there. And I'm glad you guys brought that up about the ethics, because, you know, it really is. I could start a rumor real quick and hope and see if it takes off, you know, or
Mm.
there's a rumor is going to get started and I have to go, what, you know, how is that possible? I'm the one that, I mean, I know me, I didn't do it. And then you got to backtrack on that, you know, and we see it all the time. We see it in, well, heck, how many stories were around the Super Bowl? We talked for what, 2 weeks about Taylor Swift and all the Swifties, you know, and now the big thing is San Francisco 49ers didn't even have a clue about the rules for overtime. You know,
Hmm.
even my sister-in-law, she goes, "No, that's kind of stupid. Don't you think you're in the NFL? You're a professional. You would know that." And I'm sitting there cutting steaks up and going, well, that rule was kind of changed for this Super Bowl from what I knew, and it's more or less the coach's decision. There's a player on the sideline didn't know what was going on. I mean, come on, but the media jumped on it, and now it's a gigantic story, you know, or the NFL's making up stories to sell, you know, whatever it is, you know, it is hard to find. Which leads us and kind of would segue into another question. We all know what's been going on, you know, around America, starting in Colorado, with politics right now. It's time to vote this year. It's getting close. You know, here in California, we're supposed to be voting in March. And, you know, I see one website telling me, or one commercial comes on saying, oh, you know, so and so is too conservative for the state of California. And you listen to it, it's what they have to say. And then 50 seconds later, you see another one that says, oh, they're not conservative enough. You know, it's like, man, what do they tell you to vote for? What are we doing? Problem I think is happening personally before I ask this question is, I think, like you just said too, Diana, is that people they're looking at what they hear and they're spreading it. They're not going any further, you know. And for instance, there was a time where, heck, we voted for in California so that we could stop plastic bags in the grocery store, you know, because on the voting thing, it was telling us that, hey, do you want your parks to be clean? Do you want better security? Well, who's not going to do that? And then you find out later on, like, whoa, why don't my taxes on my house go up so big? What's going on here? They neglected to tell us what we're paying for, right? So we all know that these out there, we're not doing enough education ourselves. And the question I have for you guys is, how do you guys feel about the Supreme Court having to weigh in on the Trump 2024 election ballot removal in Colorado? Where do you guys stand with that? I guess we could start with you this time, Bettina.
I
Whether
mean,
you like them or not, I'm just curious what you guys think.
yeah, I mean, I don't like them. I, I mean, I think it's important for the Supreme Court to be ruling on things because we want everyone to have a fair shot. And also, I think what you're talking about is the insurrection on January 6th, and that I mean, I think most people of sound mind think that he did cause that situation, but he hasn't been it hasn't been an official legal thing yet. Like we're waiting for that to be a legal announcement, from my understanding. So I don't think we should be judging things yet when it's not an official legal thing. Like you should be proven you're innocent until proven guilty. So it's unfair to be judging that yet because you don't want that to be thrown back in your face later if there's a, a Democrat that's has it's the same situation. So I think that the Supreme Court should have some say to make justice fair. You know,
Yeah.
does that make
Okay.
sense what I said?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, I get 100% what you're saying. And I was an independent for the longest time. So for me, I just want people to come to the middle part. And I've seen both sides are crazy.
Yeah.
And you're right. You know, if we have, I don't know about you guys, I've served jury duty before, and you could be sitting there in the jury, and the guy across from you is accused of murdering little children, you know, or whatever it is that comes, and you've been told by the judge that this is what you've heard, and then a lawyer comes up and says, "Oh, hey, that guy killed, you know, somebody last night." You know, has nothing to do with your case, but you're like, whoa, you know, what do I do? And then the judge turns around and says, no, we're going to redact that. You didn't hear that. Do not use that in your opinions. how do you go back behind closed doors and go, how do
Yeah.
I do this? Well, that is where it's a good thing that you have people out there that will follow that. I could say my brother, you guys know Corey, he's one of those people that would really just be like, I know it's right in front of me. I hate it, but I got to follow the law because to him, the Constitution's important.
Yeah.
So I get what they're saying. And I think whether he had something to do with it or not, I agree that, it hasn't, I mean, he's right now he's guilty until proven innocent. That's just the way it works in America nowadays, so, and it can go for both sides. The problem is everybody keeps throwing rocks at each other, from both sides. So it's like, who's got the mud, who's got the dirt clouds, who's got the real rocks, what's going on here? What about you, Candace?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, it seems like everything is in limbo because I believe it was maybe an hour or two. I got this like breaking news notification about, I believe, and I'm looking at my notes, Trump had asked the Supreme Court to pause the
Mm,
ruling, denying him the absolute immunity. So everything is just happening in real time. And what's fascinating is that it's happening during an election year. So we're just all seeing this unfold. And I feel like no matter what happens, it's going to be unprecedented because and it's worrying, it's concerning for a lot of people because there's a lot at stake. I feel like every time we have an election year, there's always a lot at stake, right? But this year it just feels a bit more heavy
Oh, it
with
is.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dealing with inflation. I mean, I'm on YouTube and I'm seeing so many kids, so many young adults talking about how they feel hopeless. They feel the job market is a mess. They won't ever be able to buy a home. They can't find a job. They can't do this X, Y, and Z. Everyone, if not many people, are hurting. And we look to our government for certain answers. We always have. But when you feel like year after year after year, you're seeing that what you're doing isn't reaping that reward. And it's just, I feel like we're really at this breaking point for this year. And this ruling is definitely going to play a huge part in that, whether people realize it now. If not now, they will soon realize it. So yeah, it's everyone, I think we're just in limbo. It's just a wait and see situation. And no matter what, the voting is going to go on. Everything's going to continue. We're going to have a new president. Who that will be, we'll see. But it's up to people to vote and voice their opinions and look for, once again, look for the answers, look for facts, look for truths, like find them from other places besides social media, like do your research and your homework. So yeah, it's really cooking this year. This is an important year for everything. So
I've always believed that it's gonna, whoever's president, we got 4 years of dealing with that president, and then it's gonna flip flop the next time, right? It just never
I
makes
don't
sense.
know. One of the presidents is saying that he wants to be a dictator and that if he becomes
hmm,
president, that's kind of like the end of democracy. He's not going to want to leave. He's going to want to put his children in. It's going to turn into an empire. I mean, it's not kind of like a flip-flop situation anymore. This can really be the end of our country and democracy as we know it.
I don't think it'd be the end of our country. Again, I still think that's, something coming down to what we're hearing in the media. Everybody's got the extremists on either side. So from what I see,
Candidate
that's where I
speak.
go with.
It's listening to the candidate himself speak. You know.
I guess I haven't listened enough. That's my fault though. What about you, Diana?
Yeah, no, I agree with kind of what Bettina was just saying. It's hard also. We want a Supreme Court. Obviously, this system was built on checks and balances to preserve democracy. However, it's difficult when the candidate in question, who is, on trial, I guess you could say, for this, he appointed the majority. I don't know if it's the majority or if it's just a lot of them. A lot of recent picks were appointed by Trump. So going back to what we spoke earlier about bias, how can you not let that play into your decision? Similarly to what you were talking about jury duty, and judges overruling statements and redacting things, it's really hard for me to believe that the people who were appointed by Trump aren't going to be swayed in his favor. And it is scary because I feel like as much as we want to preserve democracy, we might be shooting ourselves in the foot here by going ahead and leaving it up to the system to allow this person to be on the ballot when, an insurrection happened, which again, you don't know the justice system has to come across, we don't know exactly who played into it. But when you hear him say statements similar to what, Bettina brought up, I have heard him say that. He can argue that it was in jest, but in my mind, like, how are we letting him proceed? How is this okay? Would we let a crazy person off the streets who isn't sane and is just running around hitting people with bats? We let them run for president? No, we wouldn't. And I just feel like at some point enough is enough. He is a defendant in so many actual trials. I feel like that alone should prevent him from running, and if he's innocent, fine. And he could run another time. We'll just put it off. But I just feel like that, it's just a really hairy situation. It's something I'm worried about. And again, I don't know what the alternative would be. That's the problem. That's why I don't work in government. I just don't know what the alternative would be to this.
I've asked that question 100 times. When we look at it, we've got elites on either side that are controlling everything. They forgot about us, the people, and they're making that movie. It's coming out, and we're worried about all this Civil War movie. What the heck is that all about? Who's controlling that? Who's throwing this out there? Where do we all stand? I really, truly don't believe, me personally, that the American people don't want to get along. I think we have elites that are I mean, I can hear the worst stories, from the right about Biden. The guy doesn't even know where he's at. He doesn't even know anything right now. That's scary to me in general with any person. Who's going to take over for him? Where do we stand with that? And then you can flip the other side and everybody can say, well, he wants that Trump wants to be a dictator. At the end of the day, I think people want some change. They need change. We need change. We need something where we have stability personally. And I think right now our leaders have gotten us to a point where they hate each other and it doesn't matter. And guess what? Whether I like it or not, or you guys like it or not, we're being told who to vote for at the end of the day. And if not, who can we vote for? Because I can go and say, I'm going to vote for this guy because, or this lady, because they're independent and they're great. But let's be honest with ourselves. Where's that vote really going? I'm not going to get, I'll look on there and say, wait a minute, I don't see Biden or Trump on my stuff. How come I can't vote for the people that were, that's going to win, so to speak, so where do we stand? Like you said, Diana, I am not a political science major. I'm just the guy that rides Harleys and, loves America and hopes that we can all get along. And, I love the entertainment world. And that's what I think is great about the entertainment world, is because we can all come from different backgrounds and all have different views, but at the same time, we can all still talk and enjoy each other's company. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there can say they hate me half the time, because I have a problem opening my damn mouth and, later on going, well, I guess I said it again. It is what it is. My own family sees it that way. They see it everywhere I go, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. So I think it'd be interesting to see where it goes. Obviously this is probably a question that's going to eventually sooner or later come back up around, with all of us. As we get closer, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, but I agree with you guys. I think that he needs to get his opportunity, in court, and in the meantime, we got to figure out who's going to be president, Biden or Trump. And we're going to be told we have to pick one or the other, and I can personally say there's people out there that I can't sit there and tell you guys, especially on the talk show, who I want to vote for, who we're going to vote for, because reality is I'm just going to vote for who my family's telling me to vote for at the end of the day, because I'm like, I don't know enough. I'm not smart enough to figure out the majority of the things. So I have a lot more research to do myself. Unfortunately, us four can go do our research, but what about the rest of the millions of people that are just going to do exactly what they're told to do? And it's on, or because Taylor Swift told them to vote. I don't know. You never know anymore. It's ridiculous, the world we live in sometimes. It's like, God, are you serious? I mean, what if they want us to vote for, some clown, who knows, but then people could say that about the people we're voting for. So at the end of the day, who knows? I guess those are two tough questions to ask, especially for Candace's first time on the show. It was great. It definitely was. I know I was like, man, what did we talk about? And then all of a sudden, bam, everything came out. I'm like, huh, this would be a very good conversation to talk about. I wonder where we all stand on it. It's interesting. But that leads me into a holiday that's coming up this week. Um, being the only guy on here, I'm probably going to piss everybody off by saying I absolutely cannot stand Valentine's Day. I never did. And it's not because I'm a guy and I'm just a jerk, because believe it or not, all my daughters, my wife, everybody always knows I always go out on the white. In fact, I have 4 presents downstairs from my 4 secretaries at work. They get a big box from me every year that my sister-in-law puts together for me. I think it's important to give. Um, but at the end of the day, before I even say my opinion on this, okay, I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that, everybody being out in the aisles buying candies and flowers and gifts for everybody, do you think that this is something that you guys embrace as an actual holiday set, like all of our other holidays, or is it just a Hallmark holiday designed solely and specifically to make a hell of a lot of money for one day? What do you guys think? We'll start with you, Diana.
Yeah, definitely a Hallmark holiday. How do I explain this? I like the idea and the vibe of Valentine's Day. Shouldn't we be expressing love to loved ones every day? I don't know. I think I get a little nostalgic for Valentine's Day only because it's right by my birthday. So, I mean, I know when I start seeing this stuff in the stores, I get a little hyped because, like, my day is coming up. Um, but, like, if my birthday was in June or something, I feel like I would be poo-poo all the way on Valentine's Day. Maybe it's because I'm single and, like, there's the Galentine's Day movement now, which is a lot of fun, but you should be expressing your love for your loved ones daily because you don't know, knock on wood, when your last day is gonna come up. It might not be that February 15th, so
Right?
you don't want it to be like, oh, well, we love them. No, you got to do it every day. Take people out to eat, but that's another silly thing. First of all, can we talk about, so Valentine's Day, it's the same day every year, which means it's not the same day of the week every year. And then you have February, it's a leap year, all that stuff. So it could be like Tuesday night and everyone's struggling to find a reservation, not calling out my ex or anything because he didn't do it far enough in advance. Scrambling, waiting 2 hours for a table, which wouldn't have been a problem if Valentine's Day wasn't a thing. So it's just, it's an excuse to make money. I feel bad for all these restaurant workers because it's probably like a second Thanksgiving to them or like a second Christmas to them. And it's probably going to be awkward because God knows how many people like break up or get into fights or something at the table. And it's just so, I don't know, it's so cheesy. Like, buy your people roses every day. Buy me roses every day.
Who breaks up on Valentine's Day?
I'm
that'd be
sure
cool.
there are people, knowing some
There-
people that I've met. Someone broke up with me on my birthday once, okay? So, yeah.
Wow.
People are not smart.
Maybe they were getting your
sorry.
birthday and Valentine's mixed up since it's the same month.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, no, people aren't smart. That's kind of, I feel like, a recurring theme we've been talking about, and they'll break up on Valentine's Day.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Diana. And I was gonna wait, but I say that every year. 365 days a year, I give my love to my family and my wife. Why does today have to be different? And I have to pay triple the price for what I'm gonna get you anyways. Reality is though, it's still an honor for me to be able to buy them the presents, and it's an opportunity. I loved Valentine's when I was a kid because I knew right off the bat I got to find out who likes me in class, who doesn't, and the girl that you really liked, and you get and it just wrote her name on there. You're like, really, really? I was hoping a little bit more here. I'm like, maybe the vibes wasn't working out. And then you find out somebody else likes you. I thought it was fun. It was always cool to be able to, give little notes to. I mean, we passed notes when I was a kid. I don't know about you guys, but
Hearts.
yeah, you'd fold them up and you'd
Yeah,
pass them,
those are so
and
fun.
your idiot friend would open it up halfway through and embarrass the hell out of you in class. There's no telling how many girls I went out with in 6th grade. I probably went out with every girl in the class for 1 hour at least before I broke up. It was just a weird world, but I thought it was a lot of fun. And again, my dad started a tradition with me when I was a kid. He bought me a pair of boxing gloves. That was his way of saying he loves me, and I was like, cool, I get to go out and fight my friends. And but for me, I always got my daughters something. All my kids, I'd get them something, and I always get my wife, and she's like, "You don't really have to give me anything. I'm fine with just flowers that we can replant in the garden." I'm like, "Well, what the hell kind of flowers do you want that'll grow back every year other than roses?" But at the same time, we don't embrace it. I do it because it's an honor thing for me. I've stuck to it. It's tradition. I still hate Valentine's Day because of that, and I'm sure the story behind it is amazing. What about you, Bettina?
Well, I have a lot to say. I work in the event business. I go to events all the time. I mean, mostly I'm reading tarot cards, I'm reading tea leaves. I also do balloon twisting, but I love all the holidays because I get a lot of great gigs. So, like in February, I've already done like all these different tarot readings. I've done events for Galentines. I did, like a Valentine, like a pre-Valentine's. I have so much gigs that I love to do, and I love to read these tarot and help people and talk about their love life and stuff. It's very fun. So for me, that's the main part of it. And I love, like, so like in February I do my nails pink or maybe red. I dress a lot of red and pink. I just really get into it because it's part of my work life. Like there's Christmas gigs or in December, and then like March it's Easter, and
So it's a
same
moneymaker for you
way.
then.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
a
that makes sense.
fun way of making money. Now, on the other hand, like I do like Valentine's Day is a specific one because I do try to keep that day open for me and my husband, and we'll find a nice place to go out to dinner or something. And it's just like it's such a romantic holiday. Like I just think it's great. And yes, of course, unconditional love all year round. Yes, of course. It's just nice to be able to have like a day, just another reason to celebrate together is really nice. Now, on the other hand, yes, it's very commercial and hallmarky, and I have some issues with certain type of like marketing, but in this case, it benefits me so much. Like I can't, I can't poo-poo
It's a
it.
love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I just get into it. I love, dressing up and
Get that
getting
bag, girl.
yeah, like the whole year of events. And this is like February is like a really fun one where I'm just like have so many gigs and I'm just having a great time. So
Well, I can't lie. The lights around my house are all red. I think I asked last month. I was like, "Hey, it's January. What colors?" I have these LED lights that I put around my house that during
nice.
Christmas they look like Christmas. I can make my house look like a bank during the summer. But I like to put colors up for every month. So I was like, "Hey, what do we do? It's Valentine's Day. Do I go purple? Do I go red?" And there's so many different things that you can put up. So I think that's. I mean, I do get involved in it. There's hearts all around my house. But I agree. And well, you know what? I guess it does help you with your money. It keeps the business flowing, so that's a good thing.
Business is busy.
Yeah, well, there you go. If we didn't have Valentine's Day, I'm pretty sure we'll have another holiday they'll put up during that time, right? They'll replace it. That's the way the world works.
I mean, also it would be interesting to find out like what the original meaning of the holiday. It sounds like it's a some sort of Saint Valentine's. I don't know,
Valentine, yeah.
yeah, what he was about. I
I
don't know anything about this stuff.
You know what? I'm pretty sure that Corey does a class on that for his. He likes to teach that old history, the weird stuff. So that's a good question. I think I've probably heard it before, and I just didn't pay attention because I was too busy standing in line trying to figure out why the hell I'm spending so much damn money for flowers today. But either way, it makes sense. What about you, Candace?
I was just thinking there's probably a dark background behind Valentine's Day. Like, whereas it's supposed to
It
be
probably
about
is.
love, but I feel historical, it's probably really just dark. So I'd love to know what that is. But I agree with everyone. I agree with you all. Like, especially David, when you said like you missed how it was when you were younger. Like, I missed the childhood, like having Valentine's Day during my childhood because it was so fun. There was no pressure. You just go to school, you get your Smarties or whatever those heart things are called, not Smarties, the little heart like
Yeah,
candy things that
yeah.
they would pass
My
out
sister-in-law is
and the
addicted to
chocolate.
those.
Yeah, I used to love getting those. And you have your friends that would say, "Hey, here's, this candy or chocolate," or if someone has a crush on you, they'd send you like a admirer's note or whatever. And my parents would have like chocolates for us, and my dad would pick up like little teddy bears and things like that. Like it was cute. And then as you get older, it was just like there's more added pressure. It just becomes commercial all of a sudden. It just sneaks up on you, and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to go out on a date, or I'm supposed to do this, or And at this point in my life, I'm just like, just do what you want to do. You're not supposed to do anything. If you want to hang with your girlfriends or your best friends, have a Valentine's Day. If you want to spend it with, your partner, do that. If you want to go speed dating, do that. I feel like there's options now, and just like, celebrate each other, but even more importantly, celebrate yourself. Like, I feel like it should be also about self-love. Like, make it a spa day if you want. Do something that you like to do. Take yourself out to dinner. Like, I'm super equal opportunity. I'm just like, just have fun. Treat yourself. Like, you don't have to wait for anyone to do it for you. Just take yourself out and just have fun and celebrate yourself. Like, why not?
Well, being the only guy on the show tonight, I'm going to have to speak for all men out there right now. Whether we like it or not, it's an unwritten rule. You better get your woman something, because if you don't,
Fair.
your ass is in the doghouse and you're an idiot, because even though your buddies tell you they didn't do it, I guarantee you they did it. And then when you go, oh, I thought we weren't doing anything this year. I was like, well, you're a dumbass. You're the one who got yourself, who doesn't do that? You're like, so it's definitely pressure for a guy. Coming from me, I'm going to say it's pressure for a guy. And it's kind of a running joke with all my daughters now. And they're all adults now too. And, but they'll still say like, oh, so what are you getting us this year? It's like, damn, that's already this week. It's like, uh-oh. And you know what sucked for me? I'm also one of those last minute guys. I used to love Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve. It was a tradition for us. Holy crap. It's hell out there now, and but Valentine's, why does everything move it up so much? I mean, like, by the time you're starting Halloween, you're seeing Christmas stuff. By the time you start seeing Christmas stuff, now I'm seeing Valentine's stuff. So when I go to get Valentine's stuff, I'm already having to buy fireworks for 4th of July because there is no candy. And the only candy that's left is probably the crap candy. And now I'm going to look like an idiot because I'm like, I don't know what to get you, So I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I love you guys' takes. I think this was oh, you got something, Dana?
Yeah, I did look up the origin of Valentine's Day.
Oh,
Saint
interesting.
Valentine's. Candace was right. There is a dark meaning behind it, and it was he ministered to the Christians at the time of persecution, and obviously like people didn't like that, but he was like an all-around good guy. Like, he restored sight to someone, but yeah, it goes back to persecuting Christians, which somehow translated into conversation candy hearts. So
Wow.
who knows? Here it is.
It's good to hear those stories. I heard a story the other day about how Santa Claus was pretty much designed by Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah.
And that was very interesting. That'd be another topic we gotta talk about sometime.
Yeah.
Where do all these traditions actually come
Marketing for
from?
holidays, yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a good one. Well, guys, I had a good time tonight. We had some very interesting answers that I'm glad that I got to, obviously we can't finish them all and we're going to have to keep going, but it was awesome to be here tonight. It was awesome to have Candace on board now. So welcome to the family, Candace, and it was always like always, Diana and Bettina, I have fun with you guys. So look forward to seeing you guys soon. And when we come back, I guess we can have more answers to these questions that we keep having, right? So I'm gonna start using Diana and Corey for my history people.
Love that.
Good research. Good research. All right, guys. Well, it was fun. Like always, I had a good time. I will see you guys soon. You guys have a good time.